Hey everyone, it's Mr. S here, and today we're talking about Integrative Pest Management, or IPM. Alright, so the learning objective is to describe integrative pest management, as simple as that, and then to also practice using data and evidence to support a potential solution around these problems. And also to describe the benefits and drawbacks of integrated pest management. And if you'd like to read the essential knowledge, you can go ahead and do that, but we'll be going over that. All right, so what is integrated pest management? So basically what we need to think about is the problem is that when we use chemicals to treat the food crops, when there are a lot of weeds and a lot of insect pests, what happens is over time, the pests that are resistant to those chemicals, that have the genes or the traits that allow them to survive with those chemicals, survive, and over time we select for the pests that are resistant to those chemicals. It's survival of the fittest. The fit plants and weeds and the fit insects that are resistant to those chemicals survive, and all of a sudden you need to use more and more chemicals so that you can treat the same diseases and the same pests. And that's partly because we're doing monocropping, where we just grow one crop. If you remember that word, important to know. And so we have to use a lot of one type of chemical to treat those problems. So integrated pest management is using a lot of different types of pest control methods that minimize the environmental destruction and pesticide use. So you're doing a lot of researching and monitoring pests and targeting specific methods to specific pest life cycles. So you're really understanding the different pests. Basically, you're using different biological controls, chemical, cultural controls. These are all different ways, different approaches to handling the pest, and it's having a lot of different strategies is the most important thing, right? And a biocontrol, what that means is bringing in a natural predator to the pest that you're dealing with, okay? Like a parasite. And crop rotation is another one that we've talked a lot about. We're going to get on that shortly. And intercropping. All right, so with biocontrol, this is introducing a natural predator, a parasite, or a competitor to control the pest population. So you've probably seen ladybugs at the gardening store, and that's because they help manage aphids, which damage a lot of crops, right? So you can buy ladybugs and bring them into your field, and they help with aphids. And this can include actually purchasing and spreading that organism in fields or building homes for them and planting habitat that they need so that they're attracted naturally. And like I said, ladybugs for aphids is a really common one at gardening stores. They're also just fun to have. You want ladybugs. And spiders for a lot of pests and insects. So you could actually release spiders in your fields. And you also have parasitic wasps for caterpillars. So to limit your number of moths and caterpillars that are eating your crops. Okay? And then you have crop rotation. So we've talked about this, but many pests prefer one specific crop or crop family. They lay the eggs in the soil so that when the larvae hatch, they have a preferred food source. So rotating crops and planting them on a different crop each season can prevent pests from becoming established, since it disrupts their preferred food choice. So having a different crop that you're planting each year or in a different field is really helpful. So for example, I have squash plants that got destroyed by squash beetle. And they ate everything, pumpkins, squash, cucumbers. And so this year I'm not going to plant any of those because some of those insects might be overwintering in the soil and relying on a consistent food source. And then next year I'll be able to plant it again. This also disrupts weed growth because different crops can be planted at different times and prevents bare soil from being taken over by weeds and also from eroding, right? Another one is intercropping, so a push-pull system, where you you're using different crops that attract the insect that you really want off your field. So attract them in a different place so that they're laying eggs there instead of on your corn. The push is when plants emit volatile chemicals that naturally repel the pests away from the crop. So it's maybe just a total repellent. And then the pull attracts them to, like I said, a different crop that they'll prefer to live on. So this can provide habitat or pull plants that emit chemicals that attract natural pests or predators too. So you could have something that attracts a certain type of bird that eats those butterflies, for example. Okay? So there's some benefits and drawbacks. This reduces the death and mutation of non-target species from the chemicals that are used, for example. So all of these chemicals really affect wildlife, right? Bees die off. Eagles died with DDT, although it's banned now. Frogs change genders because of atrazine. It also reduces the effects on human consumers of produce. Many pesticides, as you probably know, cause cancer. And it reduces the contamination of surface and groundwater by agricultural runoff with pesticides. The drawbacks are that it can be more time-consuming and costly than just spraying pesticides. Researching specific pests and planting numerous species of crops is a lot more involved. And so that's really the big thing, is that it takes a whole different business model and you really need to research it and understand it. All right, so try to analyze this graph to justify whether or not these data support the use of a biocontrol method of limiting pest damage. So here you have 4 different biocontrols. So different biological species that you're releasing to attack the pests that you're trying to attack. And these are controls. So this one wasn't treated by anything, and this one had a chemical control. So try to interpret this and see if you can determine whether from this data you can tell if those biocontrols were effective. Okay, good luck.